Hey everyone, Equinoct here, and welcome back to Higurashi When They Cry, Chapter 1, Onikakushi. Um, I don't know what is gonna happen in this episode. I don't know if it's gonna be yet another innocent, fun-filled day, or if things will slowly downgrade into horrible anguish for our beloved cast members. Cast members. Party members? The people who are in the story. I don't know what you would call them. Characters. Whatever. I don't know. I'm being tongue twisted right now. Anyway, the festival is coming up that they've mentioned. I guarantee that that will be the cutting off point for Happy Go Fun Times and into the endless abyss of anguish that is to await our characters. And personally, I'm excited for that. So let's continue onward. A few days had passed since the incident. During that time, either Mion was busy or Rika-chan had to help with the festival preparations, so we couldn't get everyone together for club activities. Even though I thought I would never want to participate again after the years it shaved off my life each time, not having it only made my heart grow fonder. I really am not being honest with myself. Today we finally had our club activities again. These weren't the same old club activities. It was called the Watanagashi 5 Demon Firefight. And it was one of the biggest events in the club.
Keiichi, この浴衣まだ着れるかしら。ちょっと袖を通してみてくれる？
Mom pulled out an old dusty yukata.
いいよ浴衣なんて。恥ずかしいから普段着で行くよ。
でもお祭りなんだから着ていきなさいな。
レナとかは普段着でいいって言ってたぜ。浴衣なんか着てったらかえって恥さらしだよ。
I put on the same old vest as usual.
祭りにはレナたちと行くからさ。俺のことは放っておいて大丈夫。
そう？じゃあ母さんは父さんが起きたら二人で行くわね。
Dad let out a loud snore from the sofa.
あの調子じゃ夕べも徹夜かな。
急ぎの原稿をようやく発送したとこなの。ひょっとすると起きないかもね。
It seems my dad writes for art magazines sometimes too. I've never read it though. I wonder if my dad is a really famous artist. As a son, it's a bit strange for me to say, but I can't imagine he's selling all that well. But he's able to feed a family of 3, and my life isn't exactly full of hardships. Maybe he's actually a master painter, and I just never knew it. Ding dong! Uh-oh, it was already time. I didn't want them coming here, so I was planning on leaving early and waiting outside. Oh, is this actually the Watanagashi festival?
いつもうちのケイイチがお世話になってまして。
Ooh, I'm excited now.
おばさま、こちらこそお世話になって。
Why are you blushing just from meeting my mom?
そこで真っ赤になるな。実に気まずい。行くぞレナ。
Since Rena would continue to space out if I left her there, I grabbed her hand and dragged her out.
レナちゃん、ケイイチをよろしくね。はい、おばさま。ケイイチ君はレナが命に変えましても。
Then why don't you do it right now? She waved back even as I was dragging her away. I love Rena.
はい、ケイちゃん。今日はお腹空かしてる？露 点で済ますんだからね。
部活が露天勝負と分かってて腹を無駄に膨らますと思ったかよ。
そうでなくっちゃ。
さとことリカちゃんはもう神社に行ってるのか？
リカちゃんはお祭りの実行委員さんだもん。
Also, I love how everything looks at nighttime. Like the dark sky really brings out the bright colors. It's rather charming.
さとこちゃんもきっと一緒だよ。
そっか。よっしゃ、今日は目いっぱい騒ぐぞ。
We were already in high spirits with just the three of us there. It was way more lively at the Furude Shrine than the last time I came, far exceeding my expectations. Throngs of people crammed between rows of market stalls lined with colorful paper lanterns. Despite that, it was actually quite enjoyable.
すげえ人だな。南沢ってこんなに人がいたんだ。
綿流しのお祭りはみんな来るよ。多分南沢の人の半分くらいは来てるんじゃないかな。
Oops.
それだけじゃないよ。近隣の町の町会や子供会も招待してる。
そうだよな。俺たちの学校あれしか生徒いないのに、今日は子供の姿がやたらたくさんある。
お祭りの賑やかさはやっぱり子供の賑やかさだからね。
That's true, I agree.
どうもこんばんは。
These two knew everybody we came across. Of course, I greeted them as well, but I still wasn't familiar with everybody yet.
あら、レナちゃん。この間はお惣菜をありがとうね。うちの子も美味しいって喜んでたわ。
いえいえ。気に入ってもらえて嬉しいです。和正くんにもよろしくお伝えくださいね。
よう、園崎のお嬢ちゃんじゃねえの。今年も屋台担いで来てやったぜ。
Oju-chan. I wonder what that, I was about to say suplex. That, I forgot the word. That means.
おっちゃん、太った？今からそんなお腹じゃ果ては心筋梗塞だね。
この兄ちゃんは新顔だな。ジョーちゃんの後輩かい？
うちの部員だよ。期待のニューフェイス。侮ると一晩で屋台潰されるよ。
ジョーちゃんのお墨付きかい。そりゃお手柔らかに頼むぜ。
As you can imagine, Mion was chatting away with the old guys running the stalls.
兄ちゃんは元気いいからね。おじさんたちにすごく人気あるの。
レナも人気あると思うけどな。可愛いし。
That was, of course, so long as her little condition didn't flare up. But as long as she's blushing quietly, she's pretty cute.
あ、レナが？誰に人気あるのかな？あるのかな？
誰かにだよ。
I evaded giving her a straight answer by roughly tousling her hair.
露天商は町からわざわざ来てくれるんだよ。やっぱりこういうのがないとお祭りは盛り上がらないよね。
で、 それを俺たちは荒らして回るわけか。どんな勝負にせよ俺は負けないぜ。
そうだね。頑張ろう。ああ、遅いですわ皆々様。レディを待たせるとはケイイチさんもなってないでございますわ。
おお、そりゃすまんな。で、その待たせたレディってのはどうなんだ？
不安ですって。
Alright, Sadako was in top form as well. Seems she was all excited about being able to get everybody in the club together for the first time in a while.
リカちゃん、かわいい。
Rena let out an elated sigh. It seemed that the real lady had made her appearance.
こん
Aww,
ばんはですよ、みんな。
she looks so cute!
ケイイチもこんばんはです。
いいねいいね。今年も決まってるじゃん。
かわいいかわいい。お持ち帰り。
Rika-chan was wearing a Shrine Maiden outfit. Yep. Rena's little outburst was completely understandable.
リカちゃんの服装は本格派だな。これって本物の巫女さんの服か？
うちのバッチャのお手製。結構本格派でしょ。
リカちゃんはお祭りの最後に大切なお仕事があるからその衣装なの。
I see. Rika-chan was on the executive committee because she performed all the Shrine Maiden rituals for the festival.
お仕事はお祭りの最後のところだけなのです。まだまだゆっくり遊べますですよ。ってことはここで時間を無駄にできないということですわ。参りましょう。
よっしゃー。
It felt good to wander around the festival with just the five of us. Mion called everyone over to a stand that caught her attention and proposed a rather odd competition.
たこ焼き早食い勝負。各自購入の上。よーい、ドン。
A standard in vendor stalls. The takoyaki stand. What was especially standard for these kinds of events was the fact that they were simply balls of dough, takoyaki in name only.
ケイイチくん大丈夫？お水お水。ああ、そんな熱々たこ焼き丸飲みなんて自殺行為でございますわ。
作り置きの冷めたやつを購入するのがコツかな。
実に美味しくないですよ。
The stall next to it was a shaved ice stand. It was still a bit too early in the season for that, but right then it didn't matter.
今度はかき氷にしようぜ。完食早食い勝負だ。レディーゴー。
かき氷の早食いなんて無理。
That's a good way to get a brain freeze. Oh, wait, what happened? No, no, don't do that. Yeah, get away. No, shoot, get, There we go.
ンで少しでも溶かせば。冷たいですの
甘いね。おじさんはシロップ大盛りで頼んだのさ。混ぜればすぐに溶ける。
Those stooges were too late. The moment they chose to tackle it head on was their downfall.
完食だ
Okay, I know that's all the letter I, it's just some of it's capitalized, but it looks like L. So it's like, whew, finalilist.
ケイちゃんが早すぎる。
まさかケイチくん、後ろの金魚すくいのお水を入れたんじゃ。
From the goldfish tank.
実に美味しくないですよ。
Next to that was another old favorite, a cotton candy stand.
次はこちらにしませんこと？もちろん早食いですわ。
Well, cotton candy, you could just shove the whole thing in your mouth and it'll dissolve almost instantly.
どうやるんだろう。どうやるんだろう。
On Sadako's mark, Mion, Sadako, and I all compressed the cotton candy with our bare hands. The time it took to stick the whole thing in our mouths, 3 seconds.
さとこはともかく、ケイちゃんも気づいてたとはね。
俺をいつまでも新入部員扱いしないことだぜ
Oh. Isn't this another scene that was in the, in Higurashi Go? With Rika saying, like, it can't taste that good?
実に美味しくないですよ。
Yep. I love that they added these scenes that they didn't have in the original anime into the 2020 anime. Rika-chan had also crushed it between her hands and stuck it into her mouth.
こんな綿あめの食べ方、きっと日本中でもここだけだよ。
I think only Rena's cotton candy was happy about how it was eaten. But it felt like we'd end up doing stuff like eat noodles through the nose contest or human water pump at the goldfish scoop at the rate things were going. That sounds very unpleasant.
それでもおじさんは勝つけどね。
白磁気勝負ではミオンさんにはかないませんわね。
ああまったく
何あんたたち。次は焼きそばにブルーハワイかけて食べる勝負にしたいわけ？
Shake, shake. Both Sadako and I shook our heads in unison.
さ、今度はちょっと食べ物から離れたゲームにしないかな。しないかな。
Rena's proposal was a godsend. It was about time we played a different kind of game. It also seemed like neither Rena nor Rika-chan were any good at speed eating or gorging themselves.
じゃあレナ、次のゲームをあんたに任せるよ。なんでもいい。
じゃあねじゃあね。レナは審判だよ。このお祭り会場でかいいものを探してくるの。
Well played.
時間は1分。
Wow, Rena has a very weird gauge when it comes to how cute things are, so something obvious would be like a stuffed animal, but I don't know, if she can find a Colonel Randy, Colonel Sanders statue cute, then it's fair game for pretty much anything.
分かってますもの。
よし、多分あれなら勝てる。
やーいダン。あれ、ケイチ君とリカちゃんはなんでスタートしないんだろう。
Mion and Sadako dashed off madly, but Rika-chan and I calmly stayed right where we were.
ひょっとしてもう見つけてあるの？
Well, we know
可愛いの。
she thinks Rika is cute, so all she has to do is just say, "Here I am."
もう見つけてありますです。ケイイチもですね。
ああ、
なんだろう楽しみ。
Both Rika-chan and I stood motionless for a few moments before Mion and Sadako returned.
こういう形で直接対決するのは初めてだな。
初めてしますです。
リカちゃん、あれで勝つつもりか？
僕も部員です。勝つためなら快速第3条ですよ。
Rika-chan sneered to the best of her ability. "You're on." Both Mion and Sadako came back, each with their own plan of attack stuffed in their arms.
じゃあ順番にね。1番は部長さんのみーちゃんから。
悪いけどいきなり決めさせてもらうよ。これで
Where did she get those? There were old diamond-shaped tin signs. Okay, I had a feeling someone was gonna bring something weird.
昔懐かしのブリキ看板だ。ドン。
That's very understated. A little too understated, Mion. I used to see those stuck-up barbed wire fences. They were more nostalgic than cute. Can you explain what part of that is cute? But there were puffs of smoke noisily shooting out of Rena's ears and nose, almost like a steam train. I didn't get it.
次は私が行くでございますわよ。これでございます。
It was a hand-drawn poster from the Lady Society's roasted corn stall. It was a really bad sketch done by a housewife. An anthropomorphic roasted corn drawn without any sorts of real plan. Its very existence invited a sense of sorrow to the viewer. Bleep. That was the sound of blood jetting out of Rena's nose. It seemed to have been rated higher than Mion's. I really didn't get it. It feels like your artistic sense is a little avant-garde about it. 5 eons.
所詮は量産看板。手書きには勝てませんわ。
I couldn't even begin to follow the way those guys were thinking.
では次は僕が行きますですよ。
What you got, Rika?
次はリカちゃんか。小道具もなしにどんな手を使うやら。
Did you and Sadako both forget? If Rika-chan felt like it, she could simply... After moving back about 10 yards, she began waddling up to Rena. Seeing that, both Mion and Sadako gasped.
しまった。
Too late. Rika-chan tripped over nothing and lay motionless after falling down. Rena hurried over to her.
リカちゃん大丈夫かな、大丈夫かな。
Rika-chan had a lump on her forehead and tears welled up in her eyes. Only her fingers peeked out from her sleeves. This was the vital part. The palms of her hands were covered by her sleeves. She just made a single sound.
Me.
Aw, that is adorable.
かわいいかわいい。お持ち帰り。
So what was Keiichi gonna do then?
忘れてましたですの。一番身近な手を忘れてましたわ。
Rena's face went completely red, her head bobbing back and forth with excitement. She embraced Rika-chan and began rubbing her cheeks against her.
さすがだぜ。どこまで取っても一部の隙もない。ちびっこ、みこ、半波だ。みー、
Meep!
完璧だ。ただの苔を萌えにまで昇華した。これぞまさに芸術と呼ぶにふさわしい。
ケイちゃんの方がわかんねえセンスしてるよ。
I'll just pretend the sharp sting of those words cutting through me like a razor were a figment of my imaginations. Rika-chan turned her gaze to me with a daunting smile as she was caressed by Rena, who was in full cute mode.
さあケイイチ、僕に勝てますですか。
That cold smile is frightening, Rika-chan. It must just be my imagination, but I see a demon inside her sometimes.
ケイちゃんにも何か秘策があってのことだろうけど、何を見せてくれるのかな。
私としましてもケイイチさんのお手並み拝見でございますわ。
I imagine Keiichi would kind of flirt with Rena, but I don't know if she would find that cute as much as, like, you know, embarrassing, but in a... she'll get flustered, I'm sure, but I don't know if she'll still be in her cute mode.
ひょっとしてケイイチも芸をしますですね。
I basked in their pointed stares. I pulled Rena, who gave no sign of canceling out her cute mode, away from Rika-chan.
はう、かいのかいの。ケイイチくん離して。
今から俺がもっとかわいいのを見せてやるから少し我慢しろ。
もっとかいいの。
だがここはちょっとギャラリーが多い。
Keiichi? What are you thinking?
あっちの影行こう。
Rena looked very surprised as I pulled her behind the shrine.
ケイイチさんの企みが見えないでございますわ。
ケイちゃんに限って、いやまさか。
ファイト王です。
After a bit, I returned. And a bit after that, so did Rena, dragging her feet.
まさかケイちゃんのやつ、ねんねのレナに変なことしたんじゃ。
I'm sure he didn't, but I don't blame them for suspecting. Mion and Sadako passed by me, headed straight to Rena.
変なことって一体何でございますの？
For a moment, Rena was too dazed to realize someone was talking to her.
ケイちゃんに変なことされなかった？
レナ、変なことはされなかったよ。かなりの重傷ですわ。ケイイチさんは一体何を見せましたの？とっても可愛かったよ。
Well, now I'm curious.
かわいい？レナ、あんた何を見せられたの？
Rena let out a really long howl. Her eyes sparkled as she spoke.
可愛かったよ。ケイイチくんのお父さん。
Keiichi's what? I didn't skip that. Like, it just kind of cut away. Whamp, womp. In the blink of an eye, Mion and Sadako's elbow smashed into my face.
何？
What? I didn't see what Rena said.
この大関すけごまし。重複して差し上げますでございます。
違う誤解だ。
A dark, billowing aura followed Mion and Sadako. It was no good. They're gonna kill me.
みーちゃん、なんだかわかんないけど誤解だよ。ケイイチくんはオットセイさんのキーホルダーですよ。
It's a fur seal keychain. Fur? Okay, sure. Rika-chan stuck her hand into my pocket and pulled out my keychain.
昔、夏休みの宿題で作ったと言ってますです。恥ずかしいので、めったに人に見せないとも言ってますですよ。ちっちゃくて可愛くて、精一杯頑張ったって感じがとっても素敵だったよ。
なんだ。てっきりおじさんはケイちゃんの。あははは。
Oh, Mion. I don't blame you because of how flirty Keiichi is, but...
さすがミオさんですわ。間違える方向もワイルドですこと。
You were the same! They slung insults at each other and looked like they were ready to tear into each other at any second. I beg of you. If I'm in the clear, would you mind getting off me? We were interrupted by a flash of a camera.
やあみんな、
Tomitake!
相変わらず元気そうだね。
It was Tomitake-san. As I lay crumbled on the ground, Mion and Sadako continued to bicker above me. Rika-chan was patting me on the head and Rena was still in cute mode. It was probably quite a lively scene.
こんばんはではございますが、レディーに断りもなくお写真を撮るのはエチケット違反でございますことよ。
そうだな。少なくともサトコの許可は必要ない。
Sadako dug her heel into me.
こんばんは。明日帰られちゃうんですよね。素敵な写真はいっぱい撮れましたか？
おかげさまでね。いい絵がたくさん撮れたよ。
富武のおじさまに会えるのも今晩限りなのね。お名残惜しいですわ。いい加減とっととメジャーデビューしてくださいよね。
相変わらず口が悪いな。その毒舌もまた半年聞けないかと思うと残念だよ。
せいぜい今夜を楽しんでらしてくださいな。明日の夜にはもう東京なんですからね。
そうだね。星が見える夜空なんてまた半年お預けだもんね。
Tomitake-san looked up at the night sky cheerfully. At that moment, even though he was smiling, I sensed a bit of sadness.
富武さん、いっそ住めばいいじゃないですか。南沢。
Tomitake-san was speechless.
確かに不便なとこです。店もないし、娯楽もないし、何もないかもしれないけど。
Everyone knew what I was trying to say. Tomitake-san was also well aware. So Rena, Mion, Sadako, and Rika-chan, none of them butted in.
俺はまだここに引っ越してきて一月も経たないからよくわからないけど。
Normally, I'm a really talkative guy, but in situations like this, I'm at a loss for words. Even though all of this was happening in such a boisterous setting, it felt like all the background noises was fading into distance.
ここにはきっと。
Tomitake-san rested his hand on me gently, silencing me.
ありがとな。圭一君、ミオンちゃんにレナちゃん、サトコちゃんにリカちゃん。
Tomitake-san's smile was so slight it looked as if he was going to crumble at any minute, but it was warm.
僕もここに住めたらきっと楽しいだろうなって思うよ。
Those might have been cruel words coming from a kid who didn't need to worry about working to feed himself. A hand touched my back. It was Rena.
ケイチ君、大人をいじめちゃかわいそうだよ。
The background clamor of the festival returned.
またしばらくのお別れなんですからね。今夜は富武さんにもたくさん楽しんでもらわなくっちゃ。
When Rena smiled, the mood instantly got brighter.
そうだね。ぜひそうさせてもらうよ。
あ、ねえねえみーちゃん、どうだろう。富武さんを部活に入部させてあげるのは。
That's a great idea. Or so I thought, but Mion had a snobbish look on her face.
入部条件の一つにひなみ沢在住ってのがあるんだけどね。
そんなみーちゃん、今日くらい意地悪しなくても。ま、コツコツ毎年来てるからね。名誉市民と認定してあげよう。やったー。さてさて、こんな旬を過ぎたご老体にこの私の相手が務まるんでございましょうかしら。
Damn, Sadako.
老快な大人の知恵を見せてもらいましょうです。
へへ、俺たちの若さについてこられるかな。
Tomitake-san stepped back slightly at our audacious grins.
部長、園崎美音の名において名誉市民富武氏の我が部への入部を許可する。
Her words were quickly drowned out by our cheers.
なんだいその部活ってのは。
我が部はだな、複雑化する社会に対応するため活動ごとに提案されるさまざまな条件か、時には順境、あるいは逆境からいかにして。
レナは弱いからいじめないでほしいな。仲良くやろうね。子供のごっこ遊びと侮るつもりなら好都合でございますわ。
身ぐるみ剥いで地獄の底に叩き落としてやるぜ。
つまりみんなでゲームして遊ぶ部活です。
That's the simple way to put it. Of course, Rika-chan was the one to give an answer that made sense.
よーし、望むところだよ。その挑戦を受けて立とうじゃないか。お手柔らかに頼むよ、先輩方。
Tomoetaka-san got riled up and did a victory pose like he was 10 years younger. How old is he? He doesn't look all that old. That's perfect. We continued walking through the festival with Mion in the front. Now we looked like a family of 6. It had some intensity to it.
ルールはいつも通り。ビリにはもちろんお約束の罰ゲーム。
Tomoetaka-san was a bit surprised, but to us, it was just the same as always. Regardless of how terrible the penalty was,
負けなきゃいいんだからね。
Rena was also brimming with determination. She didn't have any intention of losing.
そうだな。
I trustled Rena's hair to lighten the mood. She giggled to hide her embarrassment.
なるほど。これが同心ってやつなんだな。
Tomoetaka-san whispered that to nobody in particular. At that moment, we heard an old man call out in a strong voice. Looking over, I realized it was the man Mion had greeted right before the festival.
来たかい。園崎の嬢ちゃん、今年は大人数みたいじゃねえの。
あんたの店、根こそぎかっさらいに来たよ。
His stall was a shooting gallery. It was the usual setup where you had to knock down the prize you wanted with a court gun. I almost said cock gun.
ルールは簡単。3発撃って得られた景品のデカさで勝負しよう。
Everybody shouted their agreement. There was no need to consider how to win, since the condition for victory was simply size. The biggest prize at the stall, it went without question. It was that one, wasn't it?
あのクマさん、かわいいよ。
Rena was gazing longingly at a large stuffed animal. It was intentionally placed on an unsteady platform, so it was possible to get it if you hit the right spot.
と一瞬思わせる絶妙な配置が見事だな。
さすがケイイチさん。一発でカンパすると思いましたわ。
ここは無難にキャラメルや人形を狙うのが定石のようだね。
Oh, Tomoetake. In this club, you go big or you go home. The intent analysis had already begun. In this club, you'll get eaten alive if you don't come prepared. Everything hinges on what plan you come up with before the main event. At some point, a large crowd had gathered around us, making a big fuss. There was this much of a following for our club's infamous event.
クマさんを落とせれば勝利は確定しますですね。
3発しかないんだぜ。それを確かめるために使うには重いな。
へいへい、他のお客さんも待ってるんだぜ。最初のチャレンジャーは誰からだい？
先に挑戦した方が楽な景品を狙えて有利かもしれないけど、鉄砲の癖が見えないうちの挑戦は危険だね。
Tomitake-san's take on the situation was pretty good. He gets what our club is about.
じゃあさ、公平にじゃんけんで決めるのはどうかな？どうかな？
結局それしかないかね。
After a couple of matches, it ended up with Mion being first.
一番は避けたかったんだけど、ま、ハンデってことにしとくかな。お茶、10。
そらよ。
When the shooting range guy handed her the rifle, Mion looked it over intently. She didn't forget to check the cork bullet either.
オッケー。この銃はおろしたてだね。癖はなし。悪くない。
Mion raised the gun in one swift motion. It was completely different from her careful inspection. She was shooting from the hip. Fire. Reload. Fire. Reload. Fire. Flop. Flop, flop. 3 candy boxes fell, one after the other. A big haul. The crowd paused in a moment of awe and then erupted into cheers.
やるでございますわ。
Tomitake-san was at a loss for words after seeing such shooting power.
すごいよみーちゃん。
English.
3つ。
Her accuracy was incredible. Her choice of targets wasn't bad either. The 3 Mion had gone after were fairly large and pretty easy to knock over. They were all targets with a very high return on investment.
2番手は誰？さとこ？気をつけて。弾が軽い。
Next was Sadako. The rifle looked a bit big for her lith? Again, new word, never seen. Lith body? But it didn't seem like she had any problem with the weight.
やはりここは大物狙いで行かせてもらいますわ。
I really should study English more, college level. She proclaimed that she was going after the teddy bear. Damn, Sadako, such a bold move.
クマさんを落とせばその時点でさとこちゃんのトップは確定するね。さとこちゃん頑張れ。
Sadako was the opposite of Mion. She aimed at the target quite carefully and squeezed the trigger. The first 2 bullets struck the bear in the torso, but it only shifted a bit. You need to aim higher towards the head or it won't work. Sadako's 3rd bullet wasn't aimed at the bear, but at the candy box below its arm.
残念でございますけれど、私にクマは2が勝ちすぎているみたいですわね。
She went boldly after the big catch, but since she switched over to less impressive prey at the last second, the crowd only gave a strained laugh. Were they laughing because she lacked the courage? These fools know nothing.
さとこいい仕事をするじゃん。腕を上げたね。
The palm of Mion's outstretched hand went poof as it tapped down lightly on Sadako. She appeared to just be talking hot air, but this was actually completely calculated. Damn that Sadako. Just to avoid being in last place, she dared to switch over to an easy target. Without shame or honor. Magnificent.
クマはレナさんに譲るでございますわ。健闘をお祈りしましたよ。ありがとね、さとこちゃん。クマさんかわいいよ。
Rena was up next. She couldn't hit the broadside of a barn as regular Rena, but she said that bear was cute. Yeah, I imagine cute mode Rena would overturn the whole stall just to get it.
一つくらい当たるといいんだけれど。
富武さんはちょっとレナを甘く見てますね。
It's Rena, you know. It's Rena Ryugu, you know. If it was to get that teddy bear, Tomitake-san wheeled around to see what all the commotion the spectators were making was about. If it was to get that bear, she'd be able to shoot through a pinhole. The one known as Rena Ryugu could do it.
揺れてる揺れてるよ。かわいいよ。
Rena couldn't hide her excitement over the bear's slow rocking. Now Rena couldn't lose.
さすがレナさんですわ。冷静を失えば失うほどに。
強い。
Another big cheer. Rena's bullet hit the bear's forehead again. Not enough, the bear seemed to wobble more than before.
でも無理かもしれませんですね。
いやー、わからないよ。レナちゃんの腕だったらひょっとすると。
While Tomitake-san was just as excited as the crowd, Rika-chan's analysis was not swayed by emotion. If Rena had 10 more shots, then she could surely knock it over. But with just one more, no matter how you looked at it, no go. The crowd let out a dejected groan. She had shot it right in the forehead 3 times. It was a bit late, but they gave her a good round of applause for the attempt.
クマさんお持ち帰り。
She should be praised for her valor, but she had no trophy to show for it. Then, at that moment, the old man flicked one of the candy boxes with his finger and handed it to Rena.
こいつはジョーちゃんのだぜ。
くれるの？レナに？
あんなすげえの見せられて手ぶらで返しちゃ、お天道様に申し訳が立たねえぜ。
There was another shower of applause. Rena turned bright red, and I pulled her back over to us by her hand.
頑張ったじゃないかよ。かわいいモードのレナにゃ驚かされるぜ。
はあ、惜しかったよ、クマさん。
Aw, don't be sad, Rena. It was easy to see that it only needed a little more to be knocked over. Rena had done quite a lot for me. I still needed to pay her back for that delicious picnic.
よっしゃ、そんなら俺が。
僕が取ったらプレゼントするよ。
What? Tomitake-san had stolen the words right out of my mouth.
お願いね、富武さん。
Man, if Keiichi gets one-upped by Tomitake, who's only a member of the club for this one night, then he's never gonna live it down. Damn you, old man Tomitake! Stealing the good parts for yourself. A small hand stretched over and fell gently on my head just before I was overcome with frustration.
ケイイチもファイト王ですよ。
Tomitake-san carefully studied the bear. Setting his sights, he shouldered the rifle while holding the other two shots in his hand. Huh?
どういうことだ。
うん、間違いない。富武のおっさんの狙いは。
Plop. The time between shots was short. It was meaningless to shoot it again once it stopped shaking. So Tomitake-san was relying on rapid fire to win the battle. It was visibly wobbling much more than it ever had before. But that was all. It still didn't fall over. All of Rena's momentary expectation from watching it sway violently turned into a dejected sigh.
結構いけると思ったんだけどな。
男だとキャラメルはもらえないようでございますわね。
That was it. It meant Tomitake-san had no spoils of war.
つまり、ケイちゃんとリカちゃんは手堅く楽なものを撃ち落とせばビリ回避ってわけだね。
ビリ回避か。あ、すみませんね。
今度はケイイチ君の番だよ。検討。
I was the fifth shooter. I took the rifle from Tomitake-san. If I took the ruthless route, as Mion had suggested, then I'd go for something insignificant. Except, when I picked up the rifle, I definitely got a feeling from it. It was burning passion, passed down to me by Tomitake-san. The regret of not being man enough to fell the bear that Rena wanted. Yes, that's right. If I didn't aim for the bear, then I wouldn't be a man.
約束しちまったからな。レナに。
約束ってなんだろう。
あの熊を撃ち落としてレナにプレゼントするって。
それって、
The crowd went wild when they saw our conversation. That's not it, fine men of the crowd. If I didn't do this, then Rena might mug the old man running the stall on his way home. No, that's not it. That's not it at all. Why can't I just express my honest feelings?
ケイイチさんも男を見せますのね。でも実際どうやってクマを落とす気ですの？レナや富武の玉で幾分傾きはしましたですが、難しいと思いますです。ケイイチ君。
もっと素早い連射力があれば一撃ごとの揺れにパワーを上乗せできるのに。
I'm imagining if Keiichi ends up missing and no one knocks down the bear, then Rena's just gonna pick one of them up and throw it at the bear to knock it down. And that's how she gets it.
頑張ってケイイチ君。
After taking 2 deep breaths, I shouted over to the guy.
鉄砲もう2丁貸してくれ。
Huh? The crowd murmured amongst themselves.
ケイイチさんは何を企んでいるのでしょう。一人じゃ3丁は使えないですよ。
読めたよ。ケイちゃんも考えたじゃん。
Mion was able to figure it out magnificently.
つまり一番時間がかかってるのがこのコルク玉の装填なんだよ。
そうだよね。じゃあ先に弾を詰めた鉄砲を3つ並べておけば。
Tomitake's son went silent, peering at me and the bear through his lens. His photographer's blood predicted a miracle will occur. And then the crowd finally picked up on what I was planning. They let out a great cheer. They chanted my name, Keiichi. Rapid fire is the key. If I miss, all is for naught. Phew. Oh, phew. After letting out a deep breath, I paused. Relax. Now. That moment, it felt like time itself had stopped. I felt like I could see the trajectory of the bullets, hit it, and knock it down. The first shot hit the bear on its head, the second, the third. The bear swayed hard, and then... The cheers began before the stuffed animal even finished falling off the shelf. The guy caught it before it hit the ground and tossed it over to me.
まさか本当に落としやがるとはな。乾杯だぜ。
Alright, Keiichi actually won a game.
ケイチ君。
ケイイチさんも頭を使えるようになりましたわね。少しは見直しましたですの。
俺一人で落としたわけじゃないぜ。みんなで当てて少しずつずらして落としたんだ。こいつは俺たち全員の戦果だぜ。
そうそう、全員の力の結晶だね。
ミーは一発も当ててませんです。
After holding up the teddy bear like it was the championship trophy, I handed it to Rena.
そうだ。こいつは俺から、いや、みんなからだな。いつもうまい弁当ありがとな。
Rena, thinking she was never actually going to get it, was momentarily speechless.
ダメだよケイチくん。だってこれはみんなの。
じゃあ落としたのは俺だからこれは俺のだからレナにやる。
I pushed the stuffed animal towards her again. This time, she embraced it and accepted it.
俺が引っ越してきてからいろいろ面倒を見てくれたよな。すげえ感謝してるんだぜ。ありがとな。
ケイチくん、ありがとう。
Rena dove at me. Mion told me a few days later that Rena kissed me, but I didn't realize it during all the excitement at the time. I remembered what I was trying to say to Tomitake earlier. There really isn't much of anything here, but there are lots of things you can't find anywhere else. I gained a lot from coming to Hinamizawa, especially at that moment. The crowd's cheers echoed on and on. From the altar set up in front of the shrine, the drums sounded with a booming echo. It was the finale of the festival.
じゃあ僕はお先に行くですよ。
おっと、僕も早く行っていいポジションを確保しないとな。じゃあみんな後ほど。
Both Rika-chan and Tomitake-san gave their farewells and disappeared into the crowd.
二人ともお勤めしっかりでございますよ。ささ参りましょうでございます。
リカちゃんの派手姿を見に行きますかね。行こ
あれレナは何やってんだよ。
ケイチくん、兄ちゃん、助けて。
Since she was carrying such a ridiculously large stuffed animal, she was being carried by a flow of people.
何やってんだあいつ。熊の世話で手一杯なんだな。
じゃあケイちゃんにはレナの世話を頼むかね。私はサトコの世話で忙しいし。
誰がミオンさんの世話になるでございますの。痛い、手引っ張らないでくださいまし。
Before losing sight of Mion, I grabbed the back of Rena's collar.
ケイチくん、そこ違う。掴むとこ違う。
注文のうるさいやつだな。どこならいいんだ。
I didn't feel ashamed at all. Rena was ashamed enough for both of us. I grabbed onto Rena's hand and dashed after Mion and the others.
置いてかれる。早く行こうぜ。
I hadn't realized Rena's hands were so delicate. Maybe she needed a bit more exercise and nutrition? That wasn't what I meant, not at all. My ears burned. I tried to keep calm. I repeated the phrase, "Keep it together, Keiichi Mayabara," in my mind. But it didn't look like I would be able to anytime soon. I really didn't want Rena to see my face right then, so I pushed onwards, dragging her alongside without looking back even once. There was already a huge group of people gathered at the altar in front of the shrine. The fire at the altar made it bright as midday and just as hot. There was a pile of futons worded with sanctified ropes in front of the altar. Come to think of it, they did say it was a festival where they did something with the cotton and futons.
ケイチさん、レナさん、こちらでございますのよ。
Sadako waved her hand from the front row.
すまんすまん。
Making our way through the mess of people, we reached the spot they'd saved.
どう？ちょっとはレナとドキドキできた？
やっぱりてめえ、そういうつもりだったのか。
Instead of replying, Mion gave us a perverse grin.
レナはどうだった？ケイちゃんの手って意外に大きいとか思わなかった？
Rena turned bright red, puffs of steam shooting out of her. I heard something slice through the air, turned around to see Mion on the ground with a whelp on her face.
ミオ、お前いつ食らったんだ？
ハウのハとウの間くらいだったかな。
レナ、照れ隠しに友達を殴るのは良くないぞ。
レナ、殴ってないよ。知らないもん。
Thump. The thunderous beat of the drum echoed, silencing the crowd.
お静かになさいませ。始まりですわ。
It was a solemn ritual. Rika-chan entered dressed as a shrine maiden, followed by members of the municipal committee. The elders all looked at Rika-chan and clasped their hands in praise. The only thing allowed to disturb the profound silence was the flash from Tometake-san's camera.
リカちゃんが持ってるあのでかいのはなんだ？
祭事用のクワだよ。巫女さんしか触っちゃいけない神聖な農具なの。
It was an awkward shape for a piece of farm equipment, not uncommon for something used in rituals. After reciting a Shinto prayer, Rika-chan approached the ship. She swung the hoe skillfully, plowing into the futons. Each and every little movement of the performance probably had to be done in a certain way. Without a doubt, this was a ritual.
今度はなんだ？布団叩きから。
あれはね、人間に代わって冬の病魔を吸い取ってくれたお布団を清めてるの。
ケイちゃんのお布団叩きって表現もまあ外れじゃないかね。
Rika-chan's face was already dripping with sweat. That hoe was probably really heavy. She staggered side to side with the momentum of each swing. Sadako looked on, silently lending her support.
心配か？
リカは毎日お餅つきの杵で練習してましたですの。きっとやりきるでございますわ。
Sadako's hands were sweaty, and whenever Rika-chan started to sway a little, she held her breath.
ミオンとかは巫女役立候補しなかったのかよ。リカちゃんにあの重さは気の毒だよ。
そりゃ頼まれりゃやるけどね。まあ誰にでも務まるものでもないし。
そうだよな。 ミコは清らかじゃないとダメだもんな。
Mion drove her elbow into my side. With the thud of the big drum, Riga-chan gave a solemn bow and descended from the altar. That triggered a round of generous applause. After the Shinto priest had raised up and cleansed the futons like a portable altar, all the spectators stood up. Following after the priest, we all marched on at a moderate pace. They descended the shrine's giant stairs in a line.
今度は何が始まるんだ？布団を川で洗濯か？
だから綿流しだってば。
The procession continued right up to the bank of the stream. The fire was stoked high, and it was bright as day here too. People started crowding it and clamoring.
はい、順番順番。並ぶよ、ケイチ君。
I wonder what was up. Maybe we get some holy wine? Red and white bean buns?
食べ物じゃないよ。だから綿。
Ah, but of course. They didn't call it Watanagashi for nothing. I finally understood. The municipal committee members pulled out the cotton from inside the futons and balled it up like mochi, handing it out to people. Rena dove into the line and brought out some for me as well. We then proceeded to the bank of the stream.
ケイチ君は初めてだから、レナのやり方を真似するんだよ。
She held the cotton in her right hand and waved her hand as if to purify it. She touched it to her forehead, chest, navel, and both thighs.
これを3回繰り返すの。心の中では、お社様ありがとうって唱えるんだよ。
お社様ってなんだよ？あの神社の神様の名前か？
うん、南沢の守り神様なの。ご利益もあるけど、たたりもあるんだからね。ちゃんと敬わないとダメだよ。
That sounded like a pretty frightening god. But, well, when in Rome. I was officially a resident of Hinamizawa now, after all. Doing as Rena showed me, I touched the cotton over myself 3 times. Thank you, Oyashiro-sama. Thank you, Oyashiro-sama. Oyashiro-sama.
これでね、体についてた悪いのがこの綿に吸い取られたの。で、あとは沢の流れにそっと流してね。おしまい。
Together, Rena and I set our pieces of cotton afloat on the surface of the water. The flowers of cotton blooming in the water had sucked out all of the bad illness from Hinamizawa and drifted off, disappearing into the distance. It was wonderful, like those floating lantern festivals I'd seen on TV. The best part, though, was feeling like this rite of passage had made me a true resident of Hinamizawa. It's a charming little festival.
初めは
Oh?
ちょっとした不安だった。誰かを傷つけたいなんて考えもしなかった。それでも不安は孤独を生んで疑念へと変わり、やがて黒い殺意が心
Oh.
を闇に閉ざしていった。戻らない日常。少年は足を踏み出す。その先が 奈落の底だとも気づかずに。鬼隠し。信じたいと思う気持ちが生んだ悲劇。流した涙は懺悔か、それとも怨恨か。
Well, that was ominous. While staring off into the stream, I somehow got separated from Rena. I wasn't very lonely, though. I know this place now. This is where I live, my home. It's probably better if I just stay here instead of wandering around aimlessly. Someone would surely find me while I was enjoying the evening breeze. I heard a familiar voice. It was Tomitake-san. I headed towards it.
どうですか、富武さん。いい写真はいっぱい撮れましたか？
ああ、おかげさまでね。
Tomitake-san was with a girl. I felt a little like I was intruding.
ケイイチ君はどうだったかしら？お祭りは楽しめた？
From the way she spoke, it seemed like she was a resident of Hinamizawa. I really should try harder to remember people's faces here. What was her name?
楽しかったです。
My face must have given away how desperately I was trying to remember her name, because she gave a light-hearted chuckle.
ケイイチ君はまだ引っ越してきて日が浅いんだそうだね。他の子たちととても親しげだったから、とてもそうは思えなかったよ。
If that's how it looked, it probably was all thanks to Rena and Mion.
あなたも今日のお祭りに参加して自分がひなみ沢の人間になれたんだって自覚できたんじゃないかしら？
どうなんでしょうね。
おや、ケイイチ君らしくない返事だね。
I had tried to get used to Hinamizawa, but there were still plenty of things I didn't know. The faces of people I met, for example. Things that had happened in the past as well.
なんだ。その程度のことで君は疎遠に感じていたのかい？
疎遠なんて大げさなもんじゃないですよ。ただなんていうのか。
That incident at the dam construction site, the fighting over it, and other conflicts. The terrible incident they pretended they didn't know about whenever I brought it up. Even though it was in the past, as someone living in Hinamizawa, it wasn't wrong to want to know about both the good and bad that happened here.
それを知ることで君が納得するなら、僕の知っている範囲で何でも教えるよ。
Tomitake-san's smile made me more relieved than I'd ever been. It was hard to think of what to ask when someone said, "Ask me anything," though. Even when there was so much I wanted to ask.
じゃあダム工事について聞かせてください。ひなみ沢が水没するとかいう大事件だったんですよね。
ダムについては多分ここの人に聞いた方が詳しいと思うけどな。ま、僕が知っている範囲でいいんなら。新聞で読んだ程度だけどね。
Tomitake-san's eyes entered an unfocused gaze as he searched through his memory. Then he spoke.
ダムの計画が決まったのは7、8年くらい前なんだ。黒部に次ぐ巨大な計画だったと聞いてるね。
There were three major issues in Japan at that time: improving inter-island transportation infrastructure, meeting the higher demand for electricity, and flood control. there was a boom of dam building due to the massive economic stimulus they provided on top of generating electricity and flood control. Hinamizawa had the right conditions to support the dam construction, so it was singled out.
ダムの完成に伴って生まれるダム湖はかなりの面積になったらしいね。この南沢からずーっと上流の矢郷地あたりまでが全部沈むことになったらしい。
しかしなんだって人が住んでる南沢にわざわざダムを作るんですか？もっと他の人が住んでないところに作ればいいのに。
よくは知らないんだが、ダムを作るのに適した地形ってのがあったって聞いてるね。
Of course, there were protests here in Hinamizawa. Riga-chan had said that they had fought. From the choice of words, I had to guess that things had turned violent.
裁判にもなったし、議会でも取り上げられたんだ。東京の新聞にも載ったよ。
Mion had told me all about that as well. I'm sure every resident of Hinamizawa had united to fight together. The feeling of solidarity found here, which could not be expressed properly with mere words, as likely brought about by that battle.
で、いろいろな不祥事や汚職が発覚してね。ややこしいことになっているうちに工事中止が決まったんだそうだよ。
If I wanted to know, now was my only chance to ask. It was certainly a bizarre incident that boys my age would be curious about. I felt a little ashamed from the fact I was petty enough to have my curiosity piqued by Rena and Mion's refusal to talk about the event. But I figured I might as well ask since I had the chance. Just so I would stop thinking about it so much.
バラバラ殺人ってありましたよ。
あったよ。偶然その時期に南沢にいてね。だからよく覚えてるよ。
Tomitake-san's answer was nonchalant in contrast with my hesitantly forced out question.
ちょうど4年前の今頃だったかな。あれも確か綿流しの日だったね。
Debate on whether to continue the construction on the dam was in disarray. Scandal after scandal rocked the project near the end. The incident that was the final nail in the coffin for the dam project. A fight at the dam construction site ended in the victim being murdered. Fearing prosecution, the 6 assailants divided the remains into 6 pieces and hid each one. 5 of the 6 criminals turned themselves in out of guilt, but one was still on the run. The right arm he hidden had yet to be found. The major details lined up with what was in the tabloid I'd read earlier. It certainly was a tragic incident, but it wasn't so terrible that Rena and Mio needed to hide it from me. I guess they didn't want someone who had just moved here to have a negative impression of Hinamizawa. I felt grateful for having friends who worried so much about me, as well as shame for still being so interested in it.
当時はダムのトラブルの末期だったからね。親代様のたたりだって言って随分騒がれたんだよ。
親代様のたたりか。
Oyashiro-sama was the name of the god at the shrine that held the festival today, if I recall correctly. I see. Their guardian deity rained divine punishment down on the evil dam construction for trying to flood Hinamizawa.
若い人たちはそうは思わなかったみたいだけれど、お年寄りたちは親代様のたたりだと疑わなかったみたいね。
The woman with Tomitake chuckled mischievously. Tomitake-san began laughing with her. It was so infectious, I ended up laughing as well.
でも今ではどうかしらね。結構いるんじゃないかしら。若い人にも。
いるって何がですか？
信じてる人だよ。Oyashiro様のたたり。
The woman's lips were still curled into a smile, but her expression turned stern.
その後ね、毎年起こるんだよ。決まって今頃にね。
怒るって何が？
Tomitake-san paused for a second, as if to build up some suspense. Then he whispered to me, as if someone might be listening.
毎年綿流しの日になるとね、誰かが死ぬんだよ。
Ooh.
バラバラ殺人の翌年の綿流しの日、ひなみ沢の住人でありながらダムの誘致派だった男が旅行先で崖下の濁流に転落して死亡した。奥さんに至っては死体も上がってない。
ひなみ沢の人間でありながらダムに賛成していた男ですからね。事故当時、お年寄りたちはお社様のたたりだとささやきあったものよ。
The woman chuckled mischievously again.
さらに翌年、綿流しの晩、今度は神社の神主が原因不明で急死した。奥さんはその晩のうちに沼に受水自殺した。
神社の神主って今日のこの神社の神主ですか？
The woman nodded.
村人たちはお社様のお怒りを鎮めきれなかったんだって噂したわね。
さらに翌年、これもまた綿流しの晩、今度は近所の主婦が撲殺体で発見された。
Housewife? Up until now, all these mysterious deaths were people involved with the dam or who had connections with Oyashiro-sama. With that in mind, could the housewife have been involved in some way too?
その通りよ。
The woman stated slyly. No, it was more menacingly.
被害者の一家はね、その2年前に転落死したダム誘致派の男の弟一家に当たるのよ。
弟本人はまだ生きてるらしいね。でもやはりかなり気にしてね、近隣の町に引っ越してったらしいよ。
For a while, I stood there with my mouth agape. The battle over the dam construction, the Hinamizawa's future at stake, and the murder at the center of all of it. That was all I knew, and it was all I wanted to ask about. But that wasn't all there was to the story. Homicide, body disposal, accidental deaths, terminal illness, suicide, fatal beatings. I'm a pretty level-headed person. I don't really want to believe in curses. But the freakish deaths happened every year, and on the day of the Watanagashi, and all of them were related to the dam construction. It was easy to dismiss each of them as coincidence by themselves, but when you put them all together, dismissing all of them as coincidence would then defy logic. I don't believe in curses, but every single year on the day of the Watanagashi, somebody or something makes it happen without fail. The woman chuckled again, as if she picked up on what I was thinking. It felt like she was saying, maybe there was, maybe we frightened him, stuff like that. I felt embarrassed at being read so easily. I pressed Tomitake-san to continue, a bit of impatience and irritation in my tone.
で、その翌年の綿流しの晩にもまた人が死ぬわけですよね。今度は誰です？
さてね、圭一君。
は？
The way he said it didn't agree with me. The sarcastic tone ticked me off.
はぐらかさないでくださいよ。俺は結構真剣に。
まあまあ圭一君、落ち着いて。
I realized when she tried to calm me down that I had been panicking.
別にはぐらかしたつもりはないんだよ、圭一君。つまりその翌年の綿流しってのは、つまり
今日よ。
Ooh, that's a creepy sound tone. When Tomitake-san hesitated to say it, she finished for him. I broke into a cold sweat. I really don't like the direction this was headed.
みんな口にしないけど、今夜また何か起こるんじゃないかって思ってる。
こんなにお祭りで賑わってるのに？
あのね、去年の被害者の主婦は不審人者だったらしくてね、綿流しのお祭りに参加しなかったらしいの。
今年の綿流しに参加しないとお社様の怒りに触れるかもしれないって噂。圭一君なら聞いてるんじゃないかい？
I never even heard a whisper of that rumor.
じゃあみんなのお祭りの参加はたたりを恐れて？
そうなんじゃないかと思うね。今年の綿流しは例年になく参加者が多いよ。
やっぱりみんな怖いんでしょうね。お社様のたたり。
I couldn't utter a single word. In this modern age, where we've made progress in all scientific fields, shedding light on the unknown and misunderstood, where black and white television had been eradicated and we've sent men to the moon, even all of our accomplishments, this can exist in modern society?
桜ってことで近隣の町の子供会をかなり招待したらしいけど、やっぱり一連の事件を受けてあんまり参加はなかったみたいね。人集めに苦労してるって町会の人がぼやいてたもの。
警察もね、過去の事件は全て別個のもので関連性はないとしてるみたいだけどね。警備ってことで私服警官をだいぶ立たせてたみたいだよ。
It finally began to dawn on me why Rena and Mion were reluctant to talk. If nothing happened during this Watanagashi, everything would have been over with, and I'd be none the wiser. If nothing happened, all would be well. In that case, it would all end up being just crazy talk. I should have just pretended like I knew nothing from the beginning. Then they wouldn't have to act like nothing happened. And we would have all gotten back to life as usual.
やっぱり刺激が強すぎたかしら。
The woman ran her fingers through her hair as she sighed.
いえ、そんな全然。
I tried to act strong, but that just served to emphasize how much the information had unsettled me. After seeing how I looked, Tomitake-san appeared to regret saying anything. Letting out a sigh, he then spoke, forcing an awkward, upbeat demeanor.
まさか圭一君、たたりなんて信じてるわけじゃないだろう。
そりゃまあ
全ての事件が原因不明で犯人も手口も謎っていうなら僕もたたりを疑ってもいいよ。だけど実際には違う。どの事件もちゃんと警察が捜査して真相や犯人を究明してる。
Hearing him say police made me feel a lot better. It was perfect for repelling the word curse.
例えば一番最初のバラバラ殺人言ったよね。犯人は一人を残して全員逮捕されてる。残った一人だって時間の問題さ。動機だって酒の上での口論からと判明してる。たたりなんかじゃないだろ。
That was true. If it didn't happen on the day of the Watanagashi, then I wouldn't think it was related to the curse at all.
次の誘致派の夫婦の事故死だってそうさ。恨みを買う立場だったからね。警察が特に入念に捜査したと思うよ。それで発表は事故。他殺じゃない。
でもまた綿流しの日に起きたんですよね。
考えてもみなよ、圭一君。ひなみ沢に敵が多かった彼が地元のお祭りにおちおち参加できると思うかい？彼にとっては綿流しの時期は特にひなみ沢に居づらい時期に違いないよ。だからわざわざこの時期に旅行をし、意図的にひなみ沢を離れようとしたんじゃないかな。
It wasn't a very clear explanation, but I sort of understood what Tomitake-san was getting at. So I pressed on earnestly, asking more questions so that I could convince myself.
じゃあ富武さん、その次に死んだ神主さんはどうです？原因不明の奇病だって。それもまたしても綿流しの日に。
神主さんはもっと説明がつきやすいよ。綿流しのお祭りは神主さんにとっては年に一度の大行事。過労に体調不良が重なったんだろうね。あるいはもともと持病持ちだったのかもしれない。
でも奇病ですよ。でもこの医学の進歩した時代に原因不明なんて。
尾ひれだよ。噂が噂を呼んだだけさ。2年立て続けに事件が起これば誰だって過敏になるよ。急死は確かに不自然だったかもしれないけど、こういう死に方をすると必ず警察が検視をする。で、事件性は発見されなかったんだろう。本当に偶然の病死なんだよ。
確か神主の奥さんが自殺してますよね。じゃあこれは？
すでに説明した通りさ。3年目の事件に村人たちは動揺していた。信心深い人たちはすぐにたたりだと決めてかかったのさ。もちろん神主の奥さんもね。自殺の際に死んでお社様の怒りをお鎮めするみたいな遺書が見つかったらしいし。
じゃあ次の主婦の事件はまたしても綿流しの日に。
この事件は犯人も逮捕されて解決してるよ。 一種の異常者でひなみ沢のたたり騒ぎを面白がって再現したと実況してる。
じゃあ次の年の事件は
Oh yeah, this year is the next year. Tomitake-san gave out a hearty laugh.
もう何も起こらないよ。今度こそね。お社様のたたりなんてもともとない。一連の偶然をあると信じている人たちがそうだと吹聴しているだけさ。
Yeah, raise your hand if you believe that. My internal computer finally got itself back on track. I felt a bit embarrassed by how childish I'd become after losing control and panicking.
僕は圭一君がひなみ沢をとても好きだと思ってることをよく知ってるよ。仮にお社様のたたりが実在したとしても、そんな圭一君にたたりがあるなんてとても思えないね。
I felt very relieved. I should probably just forget everything I heard tonight. I'll greet Rena and Mion tomorrow with the same smile as always. They'd probably also like tonight to end without incident, so they can continue on tomorrow without having worried me. Perhaps seeing my change in attitude, the woman who had been listening in stretched as she got up from the rock she was sitting on.
さてと、そろそろ私は戻らないとね。
おっと、僕も少々長くおしゃべりしすぎたかな。
There were so few people compared to the crowd from before. I could only make it out a few groups of families enjoying the cool evening air. I looked at my watch. It seemed we talked for the better part of an hour.
圭一君もお友達と一緒に来たんでしょ。みんなを探したら。
そうだった。みんな俺のことを探してるかもしれない。
女の子に探させるなんてなかなかの罪人だね。
じゃあね、おやすみなさい、圭一君。二郎さんもね、また後ほど。
Tomitake-san seems to be quite the scoundrel himself. So his name is Jiro. After dusting off her backside, she disappeared into a crowd of people still busy cleaning up the shrine grounds.
ケイチくん、ごめんなさい。
In her place, Rena came running over. I could see all the others behind her. Speak of the devil.
悪い悪いケイちゃん、すっかり話し込んじゃっててさ。
I'd completely forgotten about them while caught up on my own conversation, so we were even.
あら、富武さんもご一緒でございましたの。ちょうどよかったですわ。今日の射的の結果発表がありますです。
ああ、そうだったね。結局ビビは僕なのかな。
Uh-oh, punishment for Tomitake? In the end, after my dramatic victory, Rika-chan was the last challenger, but there weren't many targets left. That's right, we never saw Rika shoot anything. The ones remaining were all tiny and difficult to hit. She did take her time and aim, but all three shots completely missed. She was to end up sharing the loser's crown with Tomitake. However, she did her little meeping cry in front of the owner, who had turned into mush instantly. She was given a pack of gum as a consolation prize. Her methods were a bit audacious, but she did avoid being the loser rather magnificently.
思うにリカちゃんって結構タヌキだろ。
ケイイチの言ってる意味がわかりませんです。
Yeah, I think Rika is up there with Rena as one of my favorite characters. She's adorable, but she can use that against you.
なわけでビリは富武さんに決まり。
Everyone cheered and applauded. Tomitake-san smiled wryly, slightly bewildered.
じゃあ富武さん、覚悟はいいかな。罰ゲーム。
え、あ、忘れてた。
You're too naive, Tomitake-san. This is why you've got to avoid losing in our club. Mio pulled a felt-tip marker out of her pocket. Oh, it's that.
ミオン、武士の情けだ。せめて彗星にしてやれ。優勢はつらい。
優勢じゃないとダメだよ。お洗濯したら落ちちゃうじゃない。
なんだいお手柔らかに頼むよ。
All of us pinned his arms behind his back, and Mion approached him with the marker in one hand.
キュッキュッキュッだ。
But she didn't write on Tomitake-san's face. She wrote on the shirt he was wearing. You better have your big break this year, Mion. Rena took the marker next. Show me your photos next time, okay? Rena. It was a little heartwarming, and I just had to laugh.
これじゃあ罰ゲームってより寄せ書きじゃないか。
私は甘くはありませんのよ。ちゃんと罰ゲームできますわ。
Haha, dead last, Sadako. Try harder next time, Rika.
ケイイチさんもどうぞでございます。
I couldn't decide what to write, but based on what kind of penalty this was probably the most appropriate. Come back and play again, Keiichi. Tomitake-san was silent the entire time. At first he was quite bewildered, but now he had a different look on his face.
これを着たまま帰郷するのも罰ゲームのうちに入るのかな。
もちろん。ちゃんと着たまま家に帰ってね。
次に来る時にも着てきてくれるといいな。いいな。
He appeared deeply moved. Embarrassment mixed with a wealth of other emotions made him turn bright red.
わかった。次に来る時もこれを着てくるよ。約束する。
Everyone cheered and applauded. It was the finest parting gift possible for a buddy heading out tonight. I saw the woman who was with Tomitake-san standing near the festival grounds. It seemed Tomitake-san noticed her too and knew it was time to leave.
お連れ様がお待ちみたいじゃん。そろそろお時間かな。
そうみたいだね。
Tomitake-san headed off towards her and seemed to apologize for making her wait. We all shouted stuff at Tomitake. Each time we did, he looked back and waved his hand. Eventually, he faded into darkness of the night, out of sight. It was quite the casual farewell. This wasn't the first time any of us had seen someone off. They had done the same thing many times before.
行っちゃったね。
じゃ、うちらも引き上げるかね。
Rika-chan had to stay behind with the other committee members since they were having a meeting. Sadako was tagging along with her. I headed back home with the usual suspects. The walk back was quite lovely, with the talk of the day's war stories. Should have done this, should have done that kind of stuff. Rena and I parted ways with Mion, and then it was just the two of us. Then we got to my house and I parted ways with Rena as well.
こんな時間だけど一人で大丈夫か？
全然平気だよ。近いし、走っていくし。
変な奴がいたら大声出せよ。
出したら助けに来てくれるのかな。
聞こえたらな。
聞こえるくらい大きな声を出すね。
Merrily spinning her arms around at high speed, Rena dashed off. She was fine. In that mode, not even an adult could stand against her. Rena's cheerful presence disappeared, and it finally became quiet again. The curse that not a soul mentioned, even under their breath. The more I learned about tonight, the more unsettling it became. It didn't show on any of their faces, but they were probably all quite concerned about it as well. But if nothing happens tonight, then it all ends up being just crazy talk. Nothing will happen. Nothing bad. Nothing at all.
どうしたのケイチ、そんなところで。中に入りなさい。風邪をひくわよ。
It was my mom.
母さんは行った？渡流しのお祭り。
結局お父さんが起きなかったからね。行きそびれちゃったわ。残念。
Mom stuck her tongue out with a bit of an embarrassed look on her face. Alright, this has been a long and quite eventful episode. Looks like we got some new tips, and these seem to be involving the previous deaths, so let's check them out. From the June 1980 edition. On the afternoon of XX at 2 p.m., office employees and his wife of Hinamizawa Village in Shishibone Prefecture disappeared after falling 27 meters from the observatory platform in the Shirakawa Prefecture. Police and firefighters searched downstream and discovered the body of X at around 7 p.m. that evening. His wife, X, has yet to be found. The searching has run into difficulties due to the effects of Typhoon 3 from the previous day. It appeared a railing on the observatory that the X's leaned on had broken, causing them to fall. The groundskeeping staff was requested by the police in regards to facility deterioration, and a park maintenance was performed properly. Okay, so that was the couple who fell off a cliff. The husband died, the wife's body was never found. And next up... From the... Aw, my cat's mewing. From the June 1981 edition. On that afternoon of exits around 10 p.m., at the X district of Hinamizawa Village in Shishibone Prefecture, the Shinto priest of the Furude Shrine passed away after an existing condition he was recovering from suddenly worsened. Parties close to the deceased said he was suffering from anxiety issues concerning the festival, which was to be held that day. Also, after X's death, his wife X went missing, leaving behind a farewell note. The police and local youth association continued the search. However, given the presence of the farewell message and the fact that the Onikakushi swamp is said to be bottomless, they have run into difficulties. So, Shrine Priest came down with the sickness and just died right then and there, and his wife apparently threw herself into the swamp, which is apparently bottomless. Housewife murder. It wasn't reported in the newspaper. Whoa, really? That's it? Okay, that has some meaning. Oh, is this tonight? Is this like after tonight's festival? Oh shit, I don't mean to do that. Stop it. Oh, the Vic. Alright, so that's a little bit of light shed on the mysteries of Hinamizawa. Except for the housewife murder, like, wow, I wonder why that one wasn't in the papers. But anyway, wow, I'm excited now. Like, things are picking up. And it was a nice episode for a little festival merry-going right before. So I feel like that's going to be the last of the games, the fun and games for a while. And what comes next will be... let's just see what happens. Thank you all for tuning in. I really appreciate it. And I will catch you in the next episode. Later!